Benjamin, can you hear me?
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Oh, okay.
This is Julia Acker-Krog, Chief Planner, so thank you for bearing with us. We just had to sort out a few things here on our end. So today, because we have the two regular commissioners, we do have our director, Brent Schultz, here, which is going to be he'll be filling the quorum today, so he will be a voting member as part of this meeting. So with that, I've already introduced myself, and so we're going to go ahead and start with roll call here. So Commissioner Cole.
Archaeologist, present.
All right, and Commissioner McBean.
Hi, Brian. Mendocino County President.
And Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
All right. Thank you. So we have 3 present and accounted for. In terms of administration, just noting that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube at this time. So next, we're just going to go ahead and dive straight into item 3 on our agenda, which is the survey required. So we're going to start with our first item, item 3A, which is Coastal Development Permit Modification 2019-0007, which is for Tomek Ulatowski, and the applicant agent is Bruce Bell. The request is to a Coastal Development Permit modification to Coastal Development Permit 26-2002 for installation of ground mount solar for an existing residence. And the staff planner is Jesse Waldman, who we do have available on the line. And it does appear that we also have the agent available today, Bruce Bell. So with that, we did get recommendations from the Sonoma State University that just noted that they had no record of any previous cultural resource studies for this area, and you have that recommendation in your packet. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to the commissioners then.
The first question I have is, in the paperwork it said that the location for the panels is at the base of the driveway. What does that mean? Are they putting the panels in a driveway that's already there?
No, and I will want to probably have the applicant or the agent answer that as well, but I believe if you look at the site plan that's included for this, I believe it's adjacent to the existing driveway, not on the existing driveway. And yes, I just am looking here, and it does confirm that it is adjacent to an existing driveway, not within the existing driveway.
How many post holes are they going to dig?
With that, I think we can also look at, doesn't appear that they quite included, it looks like you have about 2 on each end of each panel. So let's see. 2 times, let's see, so 4 for each one. It looks like they would probably have about 12 altogether, but I think we do have Bruce Bell here on the line, and he might be able to speak more specifically to exactly what the construction will entail.
I still have another question. So the place where the panels are being placed, is that a compacted area? Is it a graveled area? Is it, part of the sideline of the road?
We're just looking over the mapping here that was within the packet. And I think if we look back at this aerial imagery that we have near the front of the packet too, that'll be helpful. So yeah, it looks like, and I don't know if Bruce can speak to this better as well, but it does look like where the driveway comes in looks to be like a vegetated area. I'm unsure based upon what we have here of whether or not that's already gravel or compacted. And I see Bruce has unmuted himself, so perhaps Bruce can answer that for us.
My apologies, this is the first time I've done Zoom. The area in which the solar array is going to be installed historically was a hay field, and this place is still in pasture. We probably will have some gravel in some way of controlling the growth around the solar array. It's off to the side of a driveway which goes past the main house and down to a stable and guest house. So it's not visible from Highway 1, and it's not visible from a neighbor on either side. I also would like to point out that although they discuss a riparian area in the in the county's review of it, the riparian area was actually, there is some water there, but in the past someone has dammed it up. The water used to run off the Ocean Bluff cliff and into the water, and into the ocean. So at this point, it's been retained. There's a small pond, but historically and now, there's no connection between that riparian area and the ocean itself, not in any direct way. I don't know what else to say, except that, as I say, I have a couple of questions, and because of the fact that it's been plowed and put in pasture, I'm not sure if there will be any evidence of Native American use of the area. And this is also an area in which, because it's between existing pines to the north and the south, it was also an area where there was it was the burn area. So construction materials were burned there at one point, and brush and gardener, and the gardener used that for a burn area. So that would also sort of confuse the investigation.
Brent Schultz.
How many post holes are you digging? How deep?
The panels are relatively light, so I imagine that the post holes will be about 12 inches deep, and I think they'll probably be 12 to 16 or something.
The water course that goes to looks like a pond.
Yes.
Where is that in relation to the panel?
Oh, 100, well over 100 feet away. There's a buffer between that and some pine trees. The riparian areas on the other side. But on the map that you should have, I'm not sure what the scale is, but I would say it's probably at least 100 feet from the riparian area. The vegetative vegetation which is indicated here, the riparian area is in the center of that, and it's at least 75 to 100 feet away from that, from the outside boundary, the protective boundary for the riparian area.
Is there beach access there?
Oh no, the bluff is probably 40 feet from that to the ocean. This is the first bluff area above the ocean, but there's no access. There's no access to the ocean at all.
Okay, it's pretty steep.
Oh, yes. You can almost dive off the cliff into the water.
Have you noticed any shell around the area where you want to put the panel? What kind of soil is there?
Well, it's, as I say, it was a hayfield, so the soil was pretty good. I haven't noticed any shell or any artifact of any kind during.
What about the color of the soil?
It's a pretty nice loam. It's a nice healthy brownish dark brown in most places.
Okay, well, Benjamin, what do you think?
Oh, and Benjamin, you appear to be muted. I apologize. You could unmute yourself. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I don't do these too often, so I'm figuring this contraction out is close to wizardry. But yeah, you know, I think it seems pretty clear.
Meaning?
Meaning, I think we should go ahead and make a motion to approve.
So you mean what I was hearing there is making a motion to determine that no survey is required in addition? Is that what I was hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just go with the discovery clause.
Okay, so if I could get, that was then a motion by Commissioner McBean. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Oh, we got Director Schultz has seconded, so now I'll do a roll call vote here. So this is for no survey required, solely the discovery clause applies. And so we'll start with Commissioner Cull.
Yes.
All right, and Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
And Commissioner McBean.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so with three, that motion carries unanimously, no survey required, and solely the discovery clause applies. So thank you very much.
The discovery clause is, is.
Oh, sure. The discovery clause just speaks to when development occurs, if any artifacts are encountered, that work will halt and they'll contact our office and set up an exclusionary zone.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. So now moving on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 3B, CDP 2020-0004 for Mira Moeller, and the agent is Carl Ritteman and Associates, and this is a standard coastal development permit request to re-roof an existing single-family residence and replace the on-site septic system. There is no increase of septic system capacity, and this site is located at 11700 Road 500D, Mendocino, which is just on the north end of Mendocino, across from Jack Peters Creek Bridge. So this item does have the recommended Sonoma State University comments, and so with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to the commission for your discussion.
I'd recommend no survey because it's a replacement in kind. Just use the discovery clause.
Any discussion amongst other commission members on that?
No.
Okay, so that was a motion by Commissioner Cull. Do we have a second on that?
Second motion.
Thank you. So that's for no survey required and solely the discovery clause applies. So now I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
Commissioner McBean.
Yes.
And Commissioner Cull.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries unanimously, determining that no survey is required and solely the discovery clause applies. So now we are moving in to our survey reviews. So this first item up, we're into section 4 of our agenda. So item 4A is use permit 2019-0025, which was continued from our last meeting in July. And this is for the owner, the H2O Projects LLC, applicant Dwight Allen Harris Jr. And this request is for a minor use permit to allow for a cannabis cultivation permit type CA indoor of no more than 2,500 square feet of mature canopy and a nursery of no more than 12,000 square feet of immature canopy within separate structures per Mendocino County Code sections 20.242, 040, C1C, and 20.242, 040B. This site is located at 27972 Highway 20 in Fort Bragg. And I will note that we do have available today here in the room with us Mark Kleiser, who is the project coordinator. but it does not appear that we have any other representatives of the application available on the line. But you do have a survey in front of you for discussion.
Benjamin, I went over all this stuff last night, so this one, I'm just going to say no survey because I was previously surveyed and currently surveyed.
So, Commissioner Cole, we're underneath the review of survey, so you do have a survey that was prepared by the applicant based upon the last meeting that's provided in your packet here, and whether or not anything additional is being requested at this time.
I approve it.
Do either of the other commissioners have any other comments related to the survey prepared or the project at hand?
No comments here.
No further comments.
Okay, well then I am just looking for a motion then to accept the survey and any other.
I'll motion to accept the survey.
Okay, that was a motion by Director Schultz. Do we have a second? Okay, that was a second by Commissioner McBean. Thank you. You guys are quick on it today. So then I'll go through our roll call vote here. So Commissioner Cole.
Affirmative.
All right, and Commissioner McBean. All right, and Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
All right, so with that, the survey prepared is accepted with any recommendations within the report being adhered to. And so with that, that motion carries unanimously, and we are moving right along to item 4B, which is Administrative Permit 2019-0073 for PB&J Ranch Management LLC. The applicant is Brett Todoroff, and again, I apologize if I butchered your last name. And this request is an administrative permit for a large mixed light type 2B 10,000 square foot cannabis cultivation, no more than 10,000 square feet of cultivation on the parcel within a forest land district. And for this application, we do again have Mark Kleiser here available in the office to respond to any questions you may have. And it does not appear that we have, oh no, excuse me, I apologize. We do. We have Brett Todoroff here available on the line as well. This site is located at 3595 Highway 101 in Piercy, and this item was also continued from the July 8th calendar, and a survey has now been prepared. So with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to the commissioners for discussion.
I have a question for the applicant. Was the cannabis cultivation site, is this a 2017 permitted site, or is it 2018 when it?
It looks like the ag permit is dated 2018.
So it's a 2018.
It's ag 2018-0228.
Okay.
Oh, and I apologize, Bill, you appeared, there we go.
Yeah, I don't know why that. Anyway, yeah, I moved at AP 2019-0073 that we approved the survey, the cover clause and recommendations.
Okay, thank you. So that was a motion by Commissioner Cole to approve the survey, or excuse me, accept the survey with the recommendations within the report being adhered to, as well as the discovery clause. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Director Schultz. So that with that, now I'll go do our roll call vote. So Commissioner McBean.
Aye.
All right, and Director Schultz.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Excellent. So with that, the motion carries unanimously and the survey is accepted. Thank you for being on the line today, Mr. Todoroff, and you'll now be continuing on with the rest of your project. So thank you very much. Okay, so now we are moving on to item 3C, which is 4C, I apologize, which is Administrative Permit 2019-0079, which the owner applicant is Soren Gregson. And the request is an administrative permit for a large outdoor Type 2, 10,000 square foot permit for cannabis cultivation of no more than 10,000 square feet on a timber production zoning parcel. This site is located at 3915 Radical Ridge Road in Redwood Valley. And again, we do have Mark Kleiser, who is the project coordinator, available here in the office, or in the room here, excuse me. And it does not appear that we have a representative of the application available for today's meeting. So there was a survey prepared, which was sent out with your packets, and I'll turn it over to the commissioners for discussion.
Well, like I said, I went over all this stuff yesterday, and this one, it's done by Tom Warrior, who's an excellent archaeologist in Santa Rosa. But they indicate that a survey was done by Martin Gary. And there was a Black Midden site, which is a cultural deposit that was supposed to be within the area, through 1682. And I'm disturbed by the fact that the report doesn't say anything about how they know that was there. Was there a site record from Mark Derry, and how did that relate to? I mean, how did they go about looking for that site in relationship to? Presumably, there had been a map made of that site location, but the report doesn't say anything about it. Did you catch that, Benjamin?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I mean, it's like they said they didn't see any signs in the business, so I mean, we can accept that, or we can send it back to Oregon and say, hey, look, how did you know even where to look? Was there a site map that showed where the midden was, and how did that relate to what you looked at? I'm just surprised that it's a little bit sloppy in terms of the report.
I think maybe we should wait until we get that information, or we have that information on hand.
So, and I did see we had a hand raise come up here in the Zoom meeting from a representative named Vicky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow Vicky to speak. Vicky, could you please unmute yourself and identify yourself? Are you related to this administrative permit application?
Yeah, she's the archaeologist.
She is. Great. So Vicky, great. This was please chime in on the discussion here.
Hi, I'm here actually for the next item on the list, but I did do the report for that. And there is a citation for the Mark Gary site record in the report. And yes, there was a map. The area has been changed radically since Mark was there, and it was really hard to tell what his landmarks were.
What kind of shovel probes did you do in the area that you suspected that he indicated where the site was?
We didn't do shovel probes. I did some, the area around there's a pond area there. And I did, it's very clear, and I was able to look pretty well at the ground surface. If there had been midden soil, I'm sure I would have seen it.
Were there any mold mounds? I mean, were we able to access mineral soil or somewhat up below the surface stuff?
Along the banks of the pond, and then along the cut banks in roadways, new roadways that are out there.
I mean, Vicki, were you concerned about the fact that you supposedly saw men with church debitors that you didn't see it?
Well, of course I was, but again, the area has changed drastically.
What does that mean?
There's been a lot of construction, new roads going in, and again, I'm not sure that the location where we were surveying was even near the site that Mark had reported.
What led you to think that?
Well, his landmarks are not clear anymore. In fact, most of them aren't there anymore. The only thing that is around is the pond. And to be honest, I haven't looked at this job file because I came for another reason, but at the time, to me it seemed that the site was going to be farther to the, and I can't remember the direction, but I'm going to say more north. No, I don't know the direction, so I can't say. But it was beyond the reach of where we were surveying for the new project.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And do you feel pretty good about your survey?
Yeah, I do. I spent quite a bit of time looking around there, and then both areas that are planned for where the project is planned. I didn't do shovel probes, and perhaps that would have been a good idea. But again, the surface was really clear, and there were lots of cut banks to look at. But yeah, I feel good about it. I think that with the admonition that there's always the possibility of buried materials, that they'll be in good shape.
How long have you been doing archaeology?
30-something years.
Okay. Well, thank you, Vicki.
Sure.
So I'd go ahead and make a motion that 18/20/19 we approve the survey with the discovery clause.
Excellent. So that was a motion by Commissioner Cole to accept the survey with the discovery clause. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McBean. So we'll do a roll call vote. Director Schultz?
Aye.
Commissioner McBean?
Aye.
And Commissioner Cole?
Aye.
Excellent. So the motion carries unanimously. With that, the survey is accepted with just the discovery clause applying. So moving right along on to Administrative Permit 2019-0102, and this item is, the owner is Signal Ridge Holdings, LLC. The agent is Scott Ward. The request is an administrative permit for a large mixed light permit for cannabis cultivation of no more than 10,000 square feet. This site is located at 7041 Signal Ridge Road in Philo. The staff planner is Mark Kleiser, who we do have available here in the room, as well as we do have various representatives of the application on the line here. It appears as representative of the application, we do have Courtney Bailey, we have Chris Butler, we have Vicki, who was just speaking on the previous item, and we also have Scott Ward. So with that, I will go ahead and turn this discussion over to the commissioners. Thank you. And so just for the benefit of the all members on the meeting here, just if you're not speaking, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself when you're not speaking, just because we do get feedback. Thank you. Oh, I see all the mutes going on. Appreciate it.
So Vicky says there was a previous cultural resource study of that area. But on reviewing this, I am ready to accept it, the survey as it is. Like I said, I went over all this stuff last night and spent a couple hours. I make I recommend that AP 2019-0102 that we accept the survey with recommendations and the discovery clause.
Excellent. So thank you for that motion, Commissioner Cole, to accept the survey with the recommendations and the discovery clause. And do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Director Schultz. So we will do our roll call vote. So starting with Commissioner McBean. Oh, and I see you are muted here. Let me see if I can unmute you. Oh, go ahead and try to, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I.
Thank you. And then we'll go to Director Schultz.
Aye.
And then Commissioner Cull.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, the motion carries unanimously. So for Administrative Permit 2019-0102, the survey is accepted. Thank you very much. Moving on to, now we're moving out of our administrative permits and into coastal development permits. So next up we have case 4E, which is Coastal Development Permit 2019-0042, which the owner applicant is Save the Redwoods League. The agent is Mendocino Land Trust. And this request is a standard coastal development permit to allow for the development of 2 new public hiking trails. The first trail will be 3.95 miles long, and the second trail will be 0.5 miles and entirely within the coastal zone. The first trail will be partially constructed along an old skid road and require the installation of 40 steps. The second trail will also be on an old skid road and include a 20-foot retaining wall and 15-foot long boardwalk, And this site is located at 80555 Usall Road in Westport. And the staff planner is Sam Vandewater, who is out of the office. And so I will be answering any questions that you may have about this project myself. And I do see that we have a representative of the application available here on the line, William Rich. And with that, I will turn this over to the commissioners for discussion.
So where this hiking trail's going, it was a former haul road.
Yes, former skid roads out there. This is old sort of lumber, timber production country out there in Usall.
How long ago were they actually utilized?
Oh, I would have to defer to, I think, the applicant's representative on that.
Hi, this is Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Bill.
Very good. Thanks for having me. Those roads were put in, mid 20th century, and were used up until about the 1980s.
Thank you for that information.
Yes, so I recommended CDP 2019-0042 that we accept the survey with recommendations for the avoidance of WRA-01 STRL, which is an archaeological deposit.
Excellent, thank you. So that was a motion by Commissioner Cole to accept the survey with the recommendations of the report related to the site identified. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McBean. So we have a motion and a second, so we'll do our roll call vote. Director Schultz.
Aye.
And Commissioner McBean.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cole. So with that, the motion carries unanimously and the survey is accepted. Thank you, Mr. Rich, for being on the line today, and wish you all the best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we are now on to, we have a minor subdivision next up. This is minor subdivision 2020-0001. And this is for Richmond and Carol Aguilar, and the agent is Stephen McGuckin. And I apologize if I butchered your name. And the request is a coastal development minor subdivision of a 31,234 square foot parcel to create two parcels of approximately 18,430 square feet and 12,800 square feet. The site is located within the town of Mendocino and at 45300 Main Street, Mendocino. The project planner is Jesse Waldman, who we do have available on the line today, as well as we also have the agent for the project, Stephen, here available on the line as well. And I would just like to note that this project was actually a previously approved project, a previously approved minor subdivision. And unfortunately, the application or the permit expired before the applicant could fulfill all the required conditions. So this is essentially requesting an entitlement again that was already previously approved. And with that, I will turn it over to the commission members for discussion.
Okay, so there are two choices in the recommendation. One is that evaluation of the site could proceed now prior to the subdivision's approval, or should be put on the deed or whatever. Or the recommendation is that any development will require further archaeological and historical evaluations and review of the cultural resources that are there, both historic and prehistoric.
So, and I believe correct, oh, excuse me, sorry, Commissioner Cole, please continue.
No, I was just going to say that the recommendation is a choice, two choices. Either do it now or it has to be done in the future.
Well, and I believe there is a survey that we have here that was done in October of 2009 for the project. And so that is available, was sent out in the packet. So there has been a survey conducted for the site.
Well, yeah, by FAD, is that the word you're talking about?
Yes, correct.
Right. And that's his recommendation.
Okay.
So it's up to the developer whether he wants to do it before the approval of the subdivision or have it tied to the case.
Yeah, to basically to the parcel. Yeah, so future development would have to be subject to completing an archaeological survey.
Yeah, and a survey which would evaluate the historic and the prehistoric sites.
So we do have the agent here available on the line. Stephen, I don't know if you have any comments related to that.
Not at this time. We are still in conversations with what that updated report might entail. So I think at this point, my interest is determining what do we need to continue on with the subdivision process itself, and then whether or not we do the survey at this point prior to the final subdivision or as a condition. That's really a discussion for the applicant, the owner and I to talk about. I would prefer to have it tied to this process so we understand before we get too far into the other required improvements that may be necessary for the subdivision to understand if there's possible impacts that could preclude the entire development of the site.
Thank you for those comments, Stephen. I would be in agreement with you from a planning perspective that it's appropriate to know all your constraints before receiving approval for the subdivision. But of course, as you said, that is a decision to be made by the applicant. So I think where we're at here is we have this survey with these recommendations. So, you know, I think the commission could entertain if they want to accept this survey as provided with those recommendations and basically leaving it into the hands of the owner or the applicant to make that decision post your action here today. And or the commission could decide if it warrants that a survey should be prepared now or potential deferment of that to the building permit stage.
I think we should leave it up to the owner, and I think we should accept the survey with both recommendations, and it's the owner's choice of how he wants to handle it. And your advice to you is probably the best.
Yeah. Any comments from either of the other commissioners? Well, then I would look for a motion, please.
Your turn, Ben.
Recommend to approve the survey at this time.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So that's a motion by Commissioner McBean to accept the survey and a second by Director Schultz. We'll do our roll call vote. So Commissioner Call.
Aye.
Director Schultz.
Aye.
And Commissioner McBean.
Aye.
Thank you. So with that, the motion carries unanimously. So Stephen, you will need to work with the owner to determine which route you intend to utilize in regards to the survey recommendations. All right, excellent. So moving along to our next item on the agenda, we are on to minor subdivision 2019-0003. The owner applicant is Julia Carson. The agent is Tara Jackson of Wind Coastal Planning and Biology. The request is a coastal minor subdivision of a 4.67 plus or minus acre parcel into two parcels of 2.67 and 2 acres. The site is located at 45380 Casper Point Road in Casper. The staff planner is Juliana Cherry. And it does appear we have a variety of individuals here representing the application available. So we have Alex DeGiorgi, who I believe prepared the survey. We have Amy Wynn of Wind Coastal Planning and Biology. We have Tara Jackson of Wind Coastal Planning and Biology, and the owner, Julia Carson. So with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to the commission for a discussion, and you do have a survey that was prepared in your packet.
So having reviewed this already last night, I was ready to accept the survey, but I was kind of curious about what an informally recorded resource. What does that mean, informally recorded?
So Mr. DeGiorgi, if you could go ahead and, or a representative of the application, if you could go ahead and answer that.
Hey Bill, this is Alex. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so informal resources don't have a site record form. They don't have the DCR 412 safety form filled out for them. So if you look at attachment A of that packet, the survey report, it's got the record search results, and it has that form that was filled out for the informal resource. The Information Center for Informal Resources issues them a C number, and it's basically a card. Some archaeologist at some point said they found something there, but they never filled out any paperwork. It's poorly documented. And if you look in attachment A, you'll see that there's really no information about what this is, who recorded it, or when, or even what.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd make a recommendation that we approve the survey with recommendations for MS 2019-0003.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Director Schultz. So we will do our roll call vote. Commissioner McBean.
Aye.
And Director Schultz.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
So with that, the motion carries unanimously, and the archaeological survey is accepted with any recommendations in the report being adhered to. Thank you all for being here on the line today.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are approaching near the end of our agenda here. You guys are going at a good rate here today. Next up, we have use permit.
We're keeping you on your toes.
You are keeping me on my toes. So next up, we've got use permit 2019-0016. The owner is Edward Wallow, and I apologize if I butchered that. The applicant is AT&T Mobility. The agent is Frank. Oh gosh, I'm going to really butcher this one. Shabaram from Delta Groups Engineering. And the request is a use permit to construct a new 65-foot cellular antenna tower with a monopine design. 12-panel antennas would be placed at 50-foot elevation. All antennas, mounting hardware, and other equipment are proposed to be painted green to match the faux foliage. A new 704 square foot lease area surrounded by a combination concrete block wall and wood fence will be constructed at the base of the monopine tower. This enclosed area will serve as an accessory equipment location, and there will also be a 30 kilowatt diesel generator for backup electrical power installed at the site. And the site is located at 25701 State Highway 128 in Yorkville. And our staff planner is Keith Gronendijk, who I do have available in the building here today, who I can grab if there is any questions related to this item. And it does appear that we don't have any representatives of the application from the agent or applicant side available today on the line. So with that, I will turn it over to the commission members for discussion.
Okay, so having reviewed this, my feeling was that I didn't want to accept the report because there was less than 20% visibility, and there was no indication of any attempt to view mineral soil during the survey. No ground probes. So that was my take on it. So send it back to the archaeologist and ask him what he did to view mineral soil.
So you're suggesting to not accept the report as there was no ground probes. I'm just sorry, I'm trying to repeat back here to make sure I get good solid notes here to pass on. No ground probes, and was it less than 20% visibility in terms of the ground coverage?
Yes. Yes. Less than 20%.
And so the direction is for them to do additional survey work, probably specifically addressing some of this ground coverage aspect.
Right. Yeah, what did they do to see the other 80%?
Okay. Other 80% determined. Okay.
There's enough of you there to override me if you want to.
Well, I don't know if any of these other commission members have any comments related to this item. Any comments at all, Director Schultz?
So basically, you didn't feel that they had done enough shovel tests on it, or is it more a matter of they didn't cover enough of the site in the archaeological studies?
They looked at less than 20%
of the site. So we don't know about the other 80% at all in this report.
Correct.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
How big was the site, Julia?
Oh, this site is... Oh, sorry, I don't have it written right here on the front of this one. It might be in your packet there. Usually these are larger acreage parcels that just have, it's a small lease area though. So this is really probably focusing on just the lease area that they have and not necessarily looking at the entirety of the site.
Because they're not going to disrupt.
They will not be working beyond it, that area.
My only issue is just if they've covered, if they're only going to be disrupting soil on that, the site where the wireless and tower's going, I think that should be sufficient. But correct me if I'm wrong on that, I mean, would we have required the whole site to be analyzed, or just the boundaries of where they're going to be putting the fence, and they're working to put the fence in and put the
Sure.
pads for the tower or footings for the tower and all that,
Right.
which will obviously disrupt the soil there.
So, and
There was poor surface visibility within the proposed equipment lease area with less than 20% visibility.
So it's
ground cover.
So it's 20% inside the bound. So they only did 20% inside the.
well, I think what they were saying is they looked at the lease area, but it was only 20% visibility because of like the ground coverage. And so there's about 80% that they're not quite, it's kind of a question mark within that lease area.
So they still can't get a blade in there to do some exploring.
Well,
Without
we have a handout that is supposed to be sent out with all these projects that describes what the commission, the strategy for surveying a project. We recommend a certain distance between transects and sensitive areas, and then we ask the archaeologists to indicate what they did to observe mineral soil, because that's the only way you're going to be able to tell if there's something there if you can see mineral soil. If you're just walking over grass, unless it's a particular place where the archaeologist indicates that, yeah, it was 80% grass, but there were hundreds of molehills where we could spread subsurface dirt to see that there was nothing there. But in this case, they just tell you that there was less than 20%, but don't even tell you what the transects, the distance between transects were. So we should just send them a copy of what we expect in survey reports. Ask them to do a better job.
Okay, so I think I have some good notes here, but I'd still be looking for a motion from a commission member to formalize these notes that I have.
Okay, well, I make a recommendation that you 2019-0016 that we recommend the archaeologists explain to us how they observed the other 80%, or go back out there and do some shovel probes so that we know there's nothing there.
Okay, so that was a motion by Commissioner Cole to not accept the survey with direction back to the applicant to prepare additional information related to the other 80% of the ground coverage that was not analyzed under there or not discussed in more detail. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McBean. So now we'll do a roll call. Director Schultz.
Aye.
Commissioner McBean.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cole.
Yes.
So with that, the survey is rejected at this time, and we will get in touch with the applicant and provide them these additional notes, and then you'll see this project come back before you at a future date once they've prepared that additional information. Thank you for that. So now we're on to our very last item, which is U 2019-0019. But before I even introduce this item, we have a procedural challenge here with this item. So Commissioner Cole did prepare the survey of this site. And the challenge here is that because Director Schultz is filling the representative of the Planning and Building Services, and then we have Commissioner McBean, Commissioner Cole actually creates our quorum. So since he would not be able to vote on this item, we're unable to hear this item today because we would not have a quorum for this particular item. As of today, I am not a voting member today. I am solely here running the meeting. Director Schultz is the voting member.
That's terrible.
Yes, I'm very sorry to say that, but what we can do is, we can't even really discuss this. But what we will do is, we can't hear this item today, 4I, due to the lack of the quorum. We will put this on our subsequent agenda for September, and with hopes that we do have a quorum such that with absent Commissioner Cole, action could be taken on this item. So with that, I apologize, Mr. Huffman, but we're not going to be able to hear this item today. So with that, item 4I will be put on a subsequent agenda due to the lack of the quorum for this particular item. So now we have completed then going through all of our review of survey items, noting that this last item that we discussed will move to a subsequent agenda. So we are actually on number 5 on our agenda here, matters from commission. Do we have any matters from the commission today?
Yeah, it would be a good idea for whoever to reach out to Allison and Lois to get an idea whether or not they can be here for these meetings ahead of time, so that we know. I mean, even though we had even though today we actually had a quorum, but not. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Cole. I completely understand. I'll work with our administrative staff on that. Typically, we do ask that commissioners, if they have identified a conflict, to get in touch with us well in advance of the meeting, so we could look at potentially scheduling the meeting for a special meeting time such that they could be available. But we will make a point of, before the September meeting, to reach out to all commissioners and make sure that we have a quorum, particularly for because we know we have an item where you have prepared the survey. It's very important that we actually have 4 members available at that meeting, so we do have a voting that can happen.
Did you call Alex right now? If you would like to take a break, what I can do is hop off the line here. I would want to put us on to take a recess essentially here for about 10 minutes and allow us the opportunity to try to make that phone call. So would you like me to do that? Okay, so then with that, we are going to take a recess here for about 10 minutes. I will be reaching out to Commissioner Scott, so just one moment.
Be back in a moment. Okay. Okay, thank you for being patient there. We did call. We were unable to get a hold of Commissioner Scott. So unfortunately, I think we still are at the point we were before I took that break, where we do not have a quorum to hear the item 4I on our agenda. And I'm sorry, Commissioner McBean, you are muted. If you could unmute yourself, and Commissioner Cole. So with that, we're still unable to hear this item number 4I. So we were under matters from commission. Under number 5, we talked about at that point to make sure we reach out before the September meeting to ensure we have quorum for our September Archaeological Commission meeting, which is on September 9th. And were there any other matters from commission that you wish to discuss today?
Just that it's an honor to be with you all, commissioners, at my very first ever archaeological. I've never been on this side of the commission. Archaeological. I've been on the other side working with people to prepare studies, not on this side.
So, and Commissioner Cole, I do see you are muted. Did you have any additional items that you wish to discuss today under matters from commission? So hearing no additional items, then we'll turn to matters from the public. We have no members of the public who have submitted a request to speak under this item. So we are at item 7 here for adjournment. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And could I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those opposed, duck. All right, so with that, our meeting has concluded for the Archaeological Commission of August 12th, 2020. The next meeting will be September 9th, 2020 at the same time as today at 2 p.m. Thank you very much for being here, Commissioners. As I said before, we will reach out and ensure we have quorum for our meeting in September such that the item 4I can be heard at that time as well. Thank you very much for being here.
Julia.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, would you please reach out to Lois Lockhart?
Ye-
She's been trying to get a hold of you.
Yes, certainly.
She's kind of having a frantic time. The roof of her apartment fell in on her and didn't hurt her, but there was some kind of water event that wiped out all of her stuff, and she's kind of having a hard time. It it might be helpful just to connect her and tell her hi. She always has questions about the county and stuff.
Well, I will be sure to reach out to Lois related to the Art Commission, and thank you for that comment. So with nothing else, then thank you all for being here today, and we will see you next month. So all the best.
All right. Be well. Thanks, Ben.
No problem. See you next time.